Hello, I'm Jessie, the Sleepy Koala, and welcome to another Bookmas video. Today, I'll be going through the top 10 books that I wish I could find under my Christmas tree this year. These are in no particular order, except the one that I wrote them down in. They're not ordered 1 to 10 of how much I want them, because I don't really know how to tell them apart in that way. So here are 10 books in a random order that I would like for Christmas this year. The first one is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. This is a book by an Australian YA author that has been making its rounds on booktube recently. I love the idea of this book. It follows a girl named Kiva who has been a healer in a prison after the rebel queen is captured, and I think I have called her the Red Queen in all my other videos. Whoops. But when the rebel queen is captured, Kiva is tasked with keeping her alive so she can go through the trial of ordeal, which is a bunch of elemental-based trials. The thing is, the rebel queen is sick. There is talk of this new plague, and I am very intrigued by anything infection-based because I have a background in immunology. So what's up with that? Please tell me more. But also, I want to see what these trials are, but why exactly these people want to put this rebel queen through them as well. Because if she's already sick and they want her to die, then they don't actually need to do anything. They're actually kind of working against their interests with Kiva keeping her alive. But if it's a spectacle they want, then a spectacle they hopefully will get, and one that I wish to see. So this premise sounds incredibly intriguing to me, and I have heard a lot of good things about it quite recently. So it is definitely a book that I would love to read sometime soon and wish was under my Christmas tree. The next book is Target by Darci Cole. Darci is someone that I know of through the Sanderson community, and she's written this book, Target, that's a retelling of Robin Hood. I love Robin Hood. If you watched my fairy tales video with Grace Douglas, you will know that I love Robin Hood, and I am very here for a gender-swapped Robin Hood as well. So I would very much like to read this story and see what goes on in it, because it sounds very interesting. Next, I know this is meant to be 10 books, but I'm going to treat these as one book instead of 2 for reasons that I will explain. But the next book is Over Raging Tides and Through Fathoms Dark and Deep by Jennifer Ellison. I read Over Raging Tides earlier this year and I loved it. It's one of the best books that I read this year. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, but it was great. It's about lady pirates sailing the high seas, going off on an adventure. What isn't there to like? But I haven't read any of the other books and I really would like to. However, to do so, I do need to reread the first book because I don't remember at all what is in it. So I need to read the first one to go to the second one to keep going. So I'm going to package these into one answer right now because I do kind of need both of them, even though the one that I want is the second book, Through Fathoms Dark and Deep. The next book is The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I've heard and seen so much about this book. It sounds delightful. From what I understand, it's about a found family, and it revolves around a caseworker, Linus, having to go to this house that's on the Cerulean Sea where it's an orphanage with these different magical children. I know nothing else about it besides this, except that everyone finds it delightful, and I would love to read a delightful book. That sounds wonderful to me. So this is definitely one that I would love to read sometime soon. I've wanted to read it for a while, but I'm trying to not buy too many books at the moment and save, and also just have so many other things that I've never gotten around to finding it, let alone buying it. But if I had it, it definitely makes it easier to prioritize. The next book is The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. This is a book I've wanted to read for so long. I am quite the fan of John and Hank Green and follow their work pretty closely. and have wanted to read this since John first started talking about it and put it out. However, I haven't. I haven't had the time. I haven't been able to find it. It's also not something that I would normally read, like not the type of thing. I am a fantasy fiction reader. I am not really a non-fiction reader at all, and I have a lot of trouble paying attention and reading non-fiction works. But I do really want to read this. This is a bunch of essays that look at just things about humanity and the way that we are and why we are like that. And it sounds delightful, to steal a word from the last book, which is very in character with everything John Green is and encompasses, because he is a delightful person, and I would very much like to read some of his non-fiction works. I've loved his fiction works. I loved Turtles. I loved Turtles All the Way Down. That was a phenomenal book. And also Looking for Alaska. That one was not my favorite, but I still really liked it. So I would love to read some of his non-fiction works as well. And also it just sounds like such a nice thing to read about. The next book is also by a Green brother, but this time the other brother, Hank. I very much would like to read A Beautifully Foolish Endeavour by Hank Green. It is the second book in the Carl's series, and I really enjoyed the first one. I read it earlier this year, and it was not at all what I was expecting, because I didn't realize it was a science fiction book to start with, but it was a very interesting look at social media, and I enjoyed the inclusion of giant robots and trying to figure out the mystery of them. The second book of Beautifully Foolish Endeavour, wow, that name is really hard to say, follows the main character April May again, and this time, but at this point the Carls have left the planet, and this is the fallout from everything that's happened. I know nothing else about this book. I don't know if you're meant to know anything else about this book before you go in it, but I love the first one. I'd love to see what happens in the second one. I'm sure there is a lot more very nuanced ideas and discussions about how social media can affect people's lives. And considering we are all here on YouTube talking, or at least I'm talking at a camera so that people have things to watch where I'm talking at a camera, the idea and understanding of how social media and online interactions affects daily life and what can happen and how we communicate is incredibly relevant. So this book and the first book and presumably this book are very relevant to my daily life and how I interact with people online. Let's have some manga, shall we? So I am currently collecting the Tsubasa Chronicles omnibuses. I have, I think, half of them in a variety of volumes. I don't have things like 1 to 6 because that would be too sensible. I instead have like 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, I think. Don't quote me on that though. I would very much like to finish this collection and be able to read them because I have wanted to do a Clamp reread for a very long time now. And Tsubasa Chronicles is up there as one of my favorite Clamp stories ever. So being able to read the entire manga, which I've never been able to do, would be fantastic. The problem is that each of these are relatively expensive. At least in Australia, they were pretty expensive. So the costs really racked up pretty quickly. Hence why I have not all of them, and a bunch of weirdly numbered ones because I had to go off what my bookstore had at the time that I had the money to buy them. But I am slowly getting there, and eventually we'll be able to read the entire thing, even if I can just fill in the start of the series so I can read like books 1 to 6. That would be helpful. Then I could at least start it. Though, if I start it, I know I will get to the ones that I don't have and just go, well, what if I just buy them? Money's for spending, right? So we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely see how it goes. But I know this is something I've been trying to complete for quite a while now and would love to see a couple of these under the Christmas tree from Santa. The other manga that I am currently collecting is another clamp one, Cardcaptors. These are the special collector's editions of Cardcaptors. They are beautiful. Like, look at how pretty that is. And then on the back, we have the claw symbol. Mostly on the inside, it's just the regular manga. Then you get pages like this one at the beginning, and how pretty is that? That's so pretty! These have been coming out slowly over the past year or so. I think I have about half of them because I've fallen behind with buying them. But I'm slowly getting the collection and they're slowly being released. So eventually the entire collection will be out, but also I will own the entire collection and I can not only read this entire series, which I really want to read, but I can read it in these fancy, pretty books as well. The next book is another one that is actually 2 books, but there's a reason for it. It is King of Scars and Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I read both of these books this year and I loved them. They were fantastic. And I noticed when I was looking under the dust cover is both of the books are embossed and they looked incredible. And why would you cover those embossed books with dust covers? Monsters. Monsters you are. They're so pretty. And they're also books that I love and books that I would 100% reread all the time. So they're things that I would like to buy both for aesthetic purposes and for readability purposes. And because it is a duology and I have read both and I want both, I just figured I'll just put them together, just snap them together like that and put them as one option. The last book on my Christmas wish list this year is Shades of Milk and Honey by Mary Robinette-Kowal. This is Jane Austen, but with magic, and it sounds amazing. I would really like to read more romance stories this year. I think they are things that I would enjoy, and I think it would be nice to have something that I can use as an easy palette cleanser for fantasy, because currently I just jump from one fantasy book to another generally, and it'd be nice to have something I can put in between that's light, that's easy, and romances seem like a great way to do it. Also, I love characters and when they fall in love, so you would think I would have gone there already, but I haven't. But this sounds like a good medium in between. I get the romance side, but I also have the magic, and magic is always fun. I do love a good story with magic. So that was my Christmas wish list this year of books. It helps me as well to make these lists because I know what I want to prioritize when going to the library, when buying books next time I go to the bookstore. So writing these lists, even if I don't get anything for Christmas, means that I know where I want to go after this. Let me know your comments down below. What books do you want for Christmas this year? Do you want any of these books in particular? Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you tomorrow for another Bookmas video. Bye!